Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of December 18th to the 24th of 2023. All right, so this week we're in the continuation of the new lunar cycle that started last Tuesday. So coming into the week, we are in the first quarter moon, which is all about implementing and starting to challenge ourselves to integrate any new perspectives, anything we've wanted for our growth and development, and any new beginnings from last week. Now, the sun will be shifting into Sagittarius here early in the week around Tuesday. So while this lunar cycle has been about Ophiuchus, which is about the healing and deeper dimensions of things, we will likely start to feel more of that emerging out of the cocoon, emerging out of that deeper world and into the more expansive, free-spirited worlds as we do progress throughout the week. As a reminder, Mercury is still retrograde, so it's a good week for a bit of still reflection, going back, redoing, rethinking things in general, and just giving a lot of flexibility to our lives in general. And that Mercury retrograde will be conjoining the Sun on Friday, marking the halfway point in the Mercury retrograde 3-week time period. So maybe some shifts of perspectives around Friday that could help us assist the continuation of reflection and rethinking for the remainder of the Mercury retrograde cycle. All right, and then we have some aspects. Mercury will be trining Jupiter this week, giving us a bit of that expansive mind, and Venus will be opposite Uranus. Maybe good to balance out some of that need for change and freedom in our lives. All right, so let's go and take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here's the sky for this week. We're going to look at this for each day of the week, starting first with Monday, December 18th. And as you can see here, we are using the visible sky on this channel, which is very different from mainstream astrology. And so if you are new to this channel, definitely check out the link down below for more information on using the visible sky called True Sidereal Astrology. All right, so this week we are in the continuation of that new moon. We had that new moon in Ophiuchus, the healer constellation, the serpent bearer, the sign that has a lot to do with not only uncovering the deeper world, but actually working with it. And we will still have that energy, of course, as we're continuing this Ophiuchus season, but Mars is adding to the energy as well. We can be certainly quite direct in getting to the bottom of things, in personal transformation and healing. At least it's certainly available. But as we do progress throughout the week, the sun will start to shift into that Sagittarius, probably from Tuesday, maybe more so Wednesday onwards, starting to emerge out a little bit out of that deeper energy and into more expansive energies where we've had Mercury. So Mercury, the planet of our minds and communications, is retrograde. And so it is a good time to still be reflective and rethinking and even going back and redoing things in our life. But in a way of maybe seeing the higher perspective that Sagittarius gives us, that top-down perspective. And that can help us see opportunities. It can help us work with a lot of things that are more about possibilities and potentials in general. And then Venus is now well set in Libra. So it's great to be seeing that there's a value to be finding some balance in our personal and interpersonal lives. So themes around fairness, what's right, mutuality. It's going to actually be very enjoyable at the moment with Venus here. And just enjoying a more balanced sort of life can be great. Venus is our enjoyments and also how we connect with others. And Libra, the scales, where she is all about bringing things back into balance. All right, so that's where all the sort of placements are. But yeah, coming into the week here, Monday, and then especially Tuesday, Wednesday, we are in the first quarter moon, which is the usually first challenges of the lunar cycle. And so it's good to challenge ourselves this early part of the week. If there's been any new perspectives from the new moon last Tuesday, then it's great to implement those. If there's been literal new things, great to implement those as well. But all in all, just good to challenge ourselves. And I think on Monday, with the moon in Aquarius, I think it's great to do so with anything that we might consider our future visions. What do we aspire towards for the future? Activating more of our visionary side. And not only for ourselves, but maybe also collectively as well. Maybe some themes around contribution or the global future, or technology, anything that's forward thinking like that can be great. And sometimes it's just great to maybe connect with some friends or some group activities while the moon is there on Monday. Now Monday we have the second contact between Mercury and Jupiter. So we had this before Mercury went retrograde. And so next contact here, great to see that while Mercury is in Sag, now trining Jupiter just really adds to that more expansive mind and perspective on things. So while we're rethinking, while we're redoing, it's great to see again that bigger picture and maybe some opportunities coming in to work with or even just think about. And then we'll have the final contact of this after Mercury goes direct in a couple weeks and then passes over that trine to Jupiter one last time. So it is the middle contact here. Usually we do learn quite a bit during the retrograde contact, and here perhaps themes around how we can expand our mental horizons a little bit and see the bigger picture. That can be very supportive with the trine type of energy. And then as we do shift into Tuesday, again, first quarter will be exact here. The sun and moon will be squaring each other exact. And this leads us into the moon in Pisces for pretty much the whole rest of the, what you might call the work week here. So Tuesday all the way through about early Friday. So themes around finding more peace in life and being receptive. Now Pisces is a very yin energy, so typically it would be more about receiving from life when we have this sort of transit, more receptive, more in tune type of energy, more yin. But in the first quarter, I think it's great to challenge ourselves to implement it. So things like maybe spiritual activities, maybe creativity, imagination, anything that requires maybe conscious, intentional peace in our life, like mental health, spiritual health, mental hygiene, spiritual hygiene, or just challenging ourselves to, have a more receptive and accepting approach to life in general. So anything that is about implementing more of this spiritual, more of this soul-guided, more of this receptive energy in our life, I think is a great way of working with this whole middle part of the week. But Tuesday and especially Wednesday onwards, we'll start to feel the sun getting closer to Sagittarius. And again, that's coming out of that deeper Ophiuchus energy, even though the month will still be about that, having the new moon started here in Ophiuchus. And Mars is, of course, still there, moving slowly as he normally does. So the week, and onwards really for this whole month, this lunar month, we do still have that deeper Ophiuchus energy, but starting to notice the emergence of that probably around midweek this week, as the sun starting to go into Sagittarius helps us see again that bigger picture. And so I like to think of this as the butterfly emerging out of the cocoon, or the phoenix rising up out of the ashes, as after having connected more with our deeper selves, our shadows, or the shadows of life, we emerge out the other side, reborn. And so this sort of metamorphosis, and this is very symbolic for the sun. This part of the sky here is where the galactic center is, very energetic part of the sky, where we do feel this transformation. And so we could be feeling that all really from the, late last week into this week. We can be feeling that personal transformation, but really the post-transformation starts to come from about Wednesday onwards, once the sun is in Sag. Now, that's going to continue there. Again, moon in receptive Pisces. And then when we do get to around this Thursday time, we have a couple aspects. One most notable here is that Venus will be opposite Uranus. So Venus, again, how we enjoy connecting to life and others, will be contacting more erratic Uranus. And the oppositions do tend towards some extremes. So there might be a natural tendency to want to break free, make some sudden changes, do some exciting and different things, or maybe not enough willingness to change things. And so there can be that pendulum swing with the opposition. And so it's all about finding that middle point, especially with Venus and Libra, about having healthy and constructive change, healthy and constructive ways of connecting that are freeing and liberating, but also different and maybe outside of our comfort zone a little bit, but consciously and constructively, right? With intention, and that can help balance that out. It's also great to see where if there's been anything on this level about having new experiences with life or with relationships or what we enjoy and connect to in life, and maybe even involving finances or resources, as these things can all be Venusian, It is the halfway point of the yearly cycle with this. So in the past 6 months, maybe reflecting on how some of this stuff has been going in the context of change and freedom and innovation, that is, of course, Uranus. And through that insight, maybe making some shifts and changes moving forward for, let's say, the next 6 months to incorporate more of that sense of, change and non-attachment and having new experiences and getting outside of our comfort zone, which Uranus really calls us to do there. So great to do that. Great for some new experiences in relationships. Great for enjoying some new and different experiences in general, as Venus is what we enjoy and connect with, and maybe seeing some different values of life, valuing a little more of that freedom and change that Uranus gives us there. All right, and then a minor aspect between Mercury and Saturn, and this is basically the Sun-Mercury conjunction, both sextiling Saturn, because the Sun will sextile Saturn later in the week on Sunday. And so nothing major with the sextiles, but they are openings, and here it could be an opening for maybe some more discipline and responsible energy with Saturn. So maybe Thursday, a good time for using our mind in disciplined or responsible ways, maybe communication in disciplined and responsible ways. But that's really leading us all the way through the weekend, as once the Sun contacts that same sextile to Saturn, we can still be doing that as well. So also a good weekend for anything that's about seeing the long road, the patient, determined, persevering aspect of life, and just seeing that there might be a doorway or opening or opportunity that presents itself for us to cultivate more of that kind of energy there. But the real thing with this one is, of course, the conjunction between the Sun and Mercury. So they're going to conjoin here exact on Friday, and that's going to be right as the Sun really starts to get into Sagittarius there. And so the halfway point of the Mercury retrograde, great time to kind of reflect on maybe what we've been learning or rethinking this past week and a half when this happens, and then what we can maybe implement for the next week and a half during the retrograde. It's the halfway point of that 3-week retrograde time period. So with this, there can also come in some insights and new perspectives. And so good to be attuned. Could even consider it a spiritual time where the mind, Mercury is not visible in the sky and the Sun is dominating the energy. So it's good to be, the Sun representing the spirit, good to be receptive to the spirit and also to things like excitement and passion, and allow that to sort of come in. It can sometimes give a bit of a short circuiting to the mind and to the day-to-day stuff and communication. So that's another good reason to be a bit receptive to see what new emerges out of this. Similar to like new moons, which is like a new beginning. We want to be receptive to what those new beginnings might be about. But all in all, I think, just conscious mindfulness during the conjunction here on Friday is great. Seeing what new arises, what new perspectives might be available. And then from that, what can we continue to reflect on, rework, and redo for the remainder of that Mercury retrograde time period. All right, and this is the time where the moon will start to go into Aries. So Friday, Saturday, maybe some themes around taking some initiative, a bit of proactivity in our life. We will notice more momentum now in the lunar cycle coming out of the square early in the week, which tends to be a little bit more catalyzing, a little more of that square, the challenge. But then as we get to the weekend here, more momentum. It's more of the trine energy. And so wind in our sails, and I think anything about proactivity or initiative, Friday and Sunday is great. And then the moon in Taurus on Friday, Saturday for Aries, and then the moon in Taurus on Sunday, maybe some resourcefulness, some groundedness, taking things one step at a time, stopping to smell the roses, and all that can be fantastic. And that's also, again, seen by the Sun sextile Saturn, giving us a bit of that grounding energy available as well. All right, everyone, so that is the week in a nutshell. Put simply is that we are challenging ourselves early in the week to implement new beginnings, new insights, new energy from last week. And anything that's about challenging ourselves, especially in that Piscean way midweek, which is being more receptive and intuitive to our approach to life. But noticing certainly a bit of that emerging out of the cocoon with the Sun going into expansive Sagittarius early to midweek, and then conjoins Mercury, who's already here on Friday. And so there can be some of this new perspective on things, and maybe in the context of how we can expand our horizons a little bit there. And of course, this is also the solstice time, so it's always good to be very receptive, I think, in the yearly cycle of things when we're talking about the solstice. In many ways, you could consider that the new year, as the sun will start to rise on the horizon if you're in the northern hemisphere. Of course, if you're in the southern hemisphere, that's swapped and you'll be in the peak summer. But either way, great to be receptive during these solstices. But yeah, then as the week progresses, more of that Sagittarius energy and maybe some of that wind in our sails as we get to more of the trinal energy with the lunar cycle. All right, so everyone, have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you haven't yet gotten your True Sidereal report, there's a link down below for that. It's absolutely free. Type in your birth details. You get to see exactly where all the planets were when you were born and a bit of a description on those. But have a great week, everyone. Thank you again, and I'll see you all next time for the next astrology forecast. Take care.